Welcome to another episode of Confidently Wrong. This is our 12th episode.
13.
Mike can't count. We finally, hit our 2-week goal, which is kind of good. So we're improving on the professionalism on this show. I'm here as always. This is Wesley Nakamura here with Mike Smith, Brian Redondo, and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie.
Hey.
Do you think if I talk about comfies on the show, they'll sponsor us?
Oh, we should.
We all really love comfies
and then we all
so
just
much.
Then we just all wear comfies every episode.
It's the new rage. Mike, before we get into what a comfy is and get our sponsorship money in, today our show, we're going to talk about WandaVision. Disney released 3 episodes so far, and we'll give our breakdowns on what we're thinking there. And then we're also going to get into kind of a cool topic. It's Savon's take on Marvel's top 5 heroes. I heard there's some spicy coming.
It's not spice. It's just Savon's an idiot.
What? No, boy, I got that hot cayenne coming for him.
What
I got
the
that
heck are we
noise.
talking about? Why are we talking about comfies on this show, Mike? What is happening?
Well, okay, so it's called a comfy. So it's kind of like the logical follow-up to Snuggie. So Snuggie was like essentially just a robe, but you wear it backwards. This is just like a really, really big hoodie that's completely unnecessary, probably in the tropical climate I live in, but it's really comfy. It's got a big hood, it's really soft on the inside, and it looks hilarious. So I got a camouflage one, and Anna got a plaid one.
It's perfect for hunting, of course.
Yeah, I'm literally going to wear it all the time. So it's going to be great and comfy. Go ahead and sponsor us, because we have a new listener this week that I will introduce later.
New listeners. We're not just Alexis and Alexis's boyfriend.
No.
Wow.
We're also
broadening
reaching
our
out to
gap.
the comfy
and Will
community.
Cat, so that's 3. I think
We've
have
got
4
3
this
listeners.
week. So now we have as many people listening to the show that are on the show. So
The ratio.
We're kind of blowing up. So comfy, if you're listening, it's you better hop on this train before it's too late. Because
We're like the
Road.
500 win team.
we're rebuilding.
We
we're
could
rebuilding
make it into the
even though-
playoffs.
But we're
just-
coming off of being, youngin', so it's not disappointing.
We're the New Orleans Pelicans now. We've got some actual expectations pretty soon here.
We could get a
it's
comfy
awful.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
All right,
we
well, we're
just
going to start in the
mindlessly ramble.
usual. We're going to start in the usual place. The what we're loving. Savon, what are you loving this week?
Yeah, so what I'm loving this week. So I was doing some cleaning up in my room, throwing out some old stuff, and I was going through like just old books that I have on my bookshelf. A lot of these books I've had since like 7th, 8th grade. So most of them I'm like, okay, this is trash. I can give this away. And then I see I have a copy of American Gods, and I bought that book like when I was in 7th, 8th grade. I read it. It was a good book. I enjoyed it, but a lot of it went over my head. I'm realizing as an adult. And there was so much stuff. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have understood this. I was in 7th grade. Like, there were like drugs and sex that clearly was just not getting it. And there's a TV show, which I haven't seen the show, but I've heard good things about the show. But it reminded me, especially as an adult, the concept is really, really sick. And like, there's no reason why I shouldn't revisit this with like a fresh adult eyes and lens and kind of see, 1, if it holds up, and 2, just how much of it went over my head and how much was I missing. So I've started, I haven't gotten super far in it, but I'm already just like, there's so many things with the adult characters that are just more relatable now that I'm not, a teenager.
So I have 2 things on that. The first is I'd like to commend you. I know it took a lot of effort to not talk about your lights in this section. For those of you that don't know, Savon, you can't see him right now, but his room is actually blue right now. Maybe
It's not purple.
It's
kind
not
of like
purple.
a
It's like
marine
a
blue turquoise.
Yeah, like aqua blue. Like
It's
it's
fading
hinging
between
on
them. It's
green.
fading.
But
It's changing.
This has been
Ooh,
a big
gradient.
struggle for Savon. He's talked endlessly about it. This is going to completely transform his life. More productive at work, more productive on the PlayStation. It's just the vibes are fully set. So I'm really impressed you didn't, bring that up. That's the first thing. The second thing is I've seen the trailers for this show. It seems to I have no idea what it's about. It seems to make no sense. Can you give me the 30-second synopsis?
Yeah, so like the basic premise of the show I mean, you follow a main character. He's an ex-con. He's kind of doing a lot of traveling across like just the United States. But the basic premise is that in this world, gods from various religions and mythologies actually exist. But their actual power and the way they can manifest themselves is tied to like the extent that people actually believe in them. So and then a big thing why the show's called American Gods is that American culture, is based heavily and drawn from like just immigrant cultures, right? People who came from different cultures and whatnot and brought their religions and mythologies. The idea is that there are American versions of these gods and mythological figures who exist in America now in like a very different world, who are now distinct from maybe the counterparts they had in their actual homeland because they've changed to where they're its own thing. So basically, he's traveling across the country, and you see weird modern manifestations or incarnations of various mythological figures. Some that are downtrodden, others that are in positions of power, but it's a very cool concept that's executed well in the books.
Is it it's multiple books?
No, it's just one book. I mean, I
Wow.
think Neil Gaiman has like another book that's like loosely based around like with a certain character appears again, but American Gods is more or less its own standalone novel.
I read this book very long time ago, but can you remind me of some of the gods that make an appearance? There's some interesting ones, if I remember.
So like
correctly.
one that I actually caught this as a kid, which I'm actually surprised at in retrospect. A Nasi spider who's from I think West African
what?
folklore. A Nasi.
I thought you said
Not
a
a Nazi.
spider.
A Nasi.
like-
No, a Nasi spider. He's like a African spider, like a trickster god. But he appears as like almost like a mentor character. Thoth from Egyptian mythology appears. They have a weird thing where like modern things also exist as gods. So like technology, the internet. So there's kind of like a new gods element of it too. But that's just a few of them. There's a couple others, but it would
Steve
almost
Jobs
be
walking around.
Yeah, Elon
like-
Musk.
like not people, but like
They have their worshippers.
yeah, like
There's just like a Tesla driving around that everyone's bound down.
you're
to.
laughing, but it's well executed. There's a few other gods that appear, but like naming them would be like an outright spoiler. Like there's like a leprechaun, I think, in the book. It's cool stuff.
I literally had to unfollow someone today because I just would not stop posting about their Tesla. It's so cringy. It's just like so it makes sense because people just treat these damn things like a god. Like it's like, oh, do you know the trunks in the front? I can put my organic green tea in there, and this definitely needs to go on Instagram.
Brian and I have a mutual friend on Twitter who only talks about Bitcoin and only retweet
it's so
things about
cringy.
Bitcoin.
It's so cringy. All right, anyway.
Um,
Great.
all right, Brian, what you got?
Tesla sponsors.
What you got this week?
So as I've mentioned before, I am an avid board gamer. I like playing my games analog sometimes. And something that I finally got a chance to play, even though I've had it for a few months, is the new season of Pandemic Legacy, the board game. Yes,
Wait, it can have
that's
seasons?
correct. There is a board game called Pandemic, and I'm playing it during a pandemic. And not only that, they have legacy versions of the game that have seasons like
Yeah,
a TV
that's
show.
the headline, not the pandemic part. It's the seasons part.
How can it have seasons?
So these games are legacy games. So you're actually playing through a campaign and a storyline as you play the game, so you play the game multiple times, and the game itself changes according to how you played the previous game, right? So like I'll play Pandemic a first time, and then sort of these bad things happen in the different cities that are on the board, and that'll have consequences when I play the game the next time, and so on and so forth.
How do you
And
keep
you
track
progress
of those
through a
like,
story.
changes?
So there's all these like boxes and envelopes and stickers that you use to add new cards to the decks, to add stickers to the board. Sometimes you tear up cards, you add new rules to the rule book, you add characters. It's really kind of like crazy how elaborately they figure this out.
This
But the
sounds like
best
there's a
part
lot
is-
of reading involved.
There's not as much flavor text as you'd imagine, but there's just the right amount.
What flavor text? What did you just say?
Yeah, man.
Come on.
Exposition, dog.
You never played Magic the Gathering? Come on, there's flavor
No.
text. on
Read
the
a
card.
Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh. I did read Yu-Gi-Oh. cards.
Yeah, bro.
That's
Flavor
called
text,
flavor
baby.
text.
The
It
exposition.
adds
Flavor
story.
text.
Yeah, like the D&D
I feel
handbook.
really,
Some-
I feel really uncomfortable right now. I might need
It
to
sounds
go put
like the
my
choose
my
your own
comfy
adventure.
on as a method of reducing the stress that the word
It sounds
flavor
like the
text is.
choose your own adventure aspect of this game that you're describing, Brian, is executed better than how Savon talked about Cyberpunk executing the choose
Oh,
your own
absolutely. This
adventure.
pays off, man. And
Oh my
so
God.
there have been seasons of this storyline, right? So there's been a season 1 where there's this huge, spoiler, bio warfare kind of pandemic that ravages the earth.
Yeah,
There's
game
been-
called Pandemic.
There's been a season 2 where it's the world rebuilding itself after it's ravaged by said pandemic. And now I'm playing season 0, which is a prequel to all of that. And it takes place in the Cold War, where it turns out the Soviets are the ones who created, the bio warfare sort of disease or what have you. And I'm a couple games in, and it's really cool. And for anybody that loves board games, you got to play it.
It was probably because they couldn't save their mother from.
That sounds
dying
fun,
or something.
dude. Like that sounds D&D levels of involved, and I'm just for it. I'm all in. I like that kind of stuff.
Wait, so are the game makers producing these seasons, or is this like more like fan sourced?
Oh no, these are legit, professionally designed and manufactured, and
Cool.
cost a lot of money, and it's worth every penny.
Who are you playing with?
So oddly enough, usually I only play myself and Anna. But somehow
Your Anna or Mike's Anna?
I'm not sure who.
Yeah,
Wow.
we've never
She was
seen
wearing-
them both in the same room, so we actually can't be sure.
Plot
She was
twist.
wearing a comfy too, so I couldn't really see her face. I just saw a big sheet of
That
black.
hood really is big as hell.
Yeah. But I also somehow roped in my two sisters who almost never want to play board games with us, even though I ask every time. And they're in. They're down. They're into the characters they created, and their unique abilities. And we were driving around the other day, and they're even strategizing how we're going to accomplish the next objective. So that's a win.
That's sick.
Nice. My what I'm living this week is going to be much shorter. Yesterday.
Is that a dig? What the hell?
No, I don't want people to think, mine is going to be as great as your guys's have been so far. Mine is a very small what I'm loving. I'm still playing Apex. I wasn't really playing ranked this season very much. And it's about to end. I think there's like 1 week left in ranked. And so I went from gold 4 all the way up to like platinum in the past week or so, just by actually playing more ranked games. And the game that took me over into the platinum level, I was actually texting these fools about it. We made a
No
lot
one
of
texted back.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no,
because
they didn't care.
I read and acknowledged. I was like, this is good.
No, finish, Wesley, and then,
So-
we'll talk
so
about your texting.
I mean, it doesn't, whatever. I don't need external, reinforcement at all, guys.
Are
That's
you
fine.
sure? Are you
I'm,
sure
I'm,
about that?
I'm
Are you sure
internally
about that?
secure.
Hence
I
all
never-
the text.
Yeah, but no, finish, Wes, and then we'll dive in.
My self-esteem has never been higher, guys. Never been higher since joining this text chat of ours. No, but just like occasionally I'll throw on like a YouTube video of like one, the better players playing and just kind of like watch what they do. Sometimes there's people who put up like coaching videos and they say like, oh, this is kind of how I think through it and whatever. And so like the past week or so, I've just been playing a little bit smarter, I think, trying to be smart about which fights to take and which ones not to, thinking about rotations and positioning more. And then just like trying to figure out like how to use one of the newer characters and see if she works. Anyways, this game just came down to it. Like I kind of like pushed the team to like keep rotating through a couple of fights that we shouldn't have taken. And they kind of followed. And we got to a place where it was like no one could be behind us. So we had sort of somewhat of an advantage. But both of the guys went down with like 4 squads left. Somehow I kept doing like a bunch of damage here and there, but like not putting anybody down. So I had to like run away and then come back. And I think, just trying to be smart about like how to actually not lose the game, was able to wait it out. And the last two teams fought each other, and it ended up being that only one guy was left from one of those teams, and then was able to push him while he was healing, killed him, won the game. And got my two teammates a win. So I was pretty cool about that. I felt like I played like an actual good game, both from an actual like tactical point of view and like a skill point of view. Because usually like I can do the tactics okay, but can't execute anything because I can't freaking hit like anybody. And
Facts.
but that was fun. It was good to see some improvement and get a win, and then got the 200 RP or whatever and put me into platinum. So
that
I
was
feel
the
good about
short
that.
version, huh?
Yeah.
So you out here third. So you got the dub with a nice old third party. Like, oh, looks like they're licking their wounds, hurt.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
that's
This is like a
literally
great
like
time.
that's like what we did in Warzone for months. We just like sit and wait for them to like kill each other.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
I mean, I still
fighting.
had 5 kills. Yeah, I mean, I still
they
had 5
fight.
kills. But that
oh my
is
god,
that is the
that
strategy.
just triggered me in such a deep way, Savon.
Like but that is like part of it, right? Like is knowing which fights to take and which ones you don't have the advantage.
Oh
in.
no, facts, bro. I get so mad playing like with people like any game
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, are you just not trying to win because they're just trying to get into like, yeah, dude, you don't have to fight every single thing that comes by. Like we can pick our fights and like also win. You ain't gotta do one or the other. Like,
All right, Mike. What
All
are
right.
you
All right.
loving this week?
So, I heard about this game, and it has a terrible name, and I think that's one of the reasons why it has not been like huge and on people's
Branding.
radar. It's
Like
called
comfy, but he's into the comfy guys.
the Comfy's perfect branding. Are you kidding me? Straight to the point. Literally describes what the product offers you. It's ideal. Sponsor us, Comfy.
Confidently Wrong, brought to you by Comfy.
Yeah, there you go. So the game is called Immortals Phoenix Rising. It is an open world action adventure game, like everything else nowadays. Made, I don't know the exact studio, but I think the publisher is Ubisoft, so Ubisoft, however you pronounce it. The headline with this game is that it is a Breath of the Wild, almost direct ripoff. It is really crazy how much of that game they essentially just copy and pasted into this game. I wrote down like a few of the things, like the core structure is the same. Like it's self-paced, like there's 5 different regions. You essentially have to go to each region when you want. You unlock a thing like through a series of tasks to free a god, and then all the gods come together to fight the big boss in the center of the map. Same as Breath of the Wild. There's a huge part of the game is like the stamina bar, which is literally exactly the same thing from Breath of the Wild. You can climb anything, you can swim, run, but everything takes stamina. And if you run out of stamina, you fall. There is a glider, which is a huge part of like traversing the map. There is like telekinesis, like picking things up. It even has the same like yellow, like kind of rope things, like the same animation, and like physics is a big part of the game. So like putting things in different places and knocking things over. There's vaults, which almost function exactly like Breath of the Wild. So that's a lot of the core parts of Breath of the Wild and a lot of the things that made that game really unique and cool. And the strange thing is Immortals Phoenix Rising like stole all that stuff, and it's a really good game. I have not been like this engaged in an open world game in a long time. So to me, it's like kind of weird that they were just able to take all these things and make another great game. And I think for me now, I'm thinking like, well, is this just going to be a thing moving forward? Like, are Breath of the Wild type games going to just be like consistent? Like Demon Souls obviously spawned like all that kind of from software, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all that kind of stuff. Like if this game is successful, I don't know how much it's sold, but it's a really great game and I've been loving it. And it's just crazy how similar it is. So
There is another Breath of the Wild ripoff called Genshin Impact, which is free, and you play on your phone, or you can also play on consoles, but it's also just a very clear ripoff of Breath of the Wild, but still gives you that same like jolt of like, oh yeah, this feels good, this feels a lot of fun.
Does it have what makes it a ripoff? Like, does it have all those same kind of pieces I'm describing?
Everything you listed: the stamina bar, gliding around, the physics, going to certain kind of dungeons.
So that game, I seen that it's just waifus, which like obviously,
that's what I was saying. It's a lot of fan
you
service.
know, like just a lot of anime ladies, which I'm the biggest fan of in the world. So
that's how they bait
that's
you.
how they
then,
rope you in,
yeah.
and then you're just
they
there
keep
for
you
Breath
with
of the
Zelda.
Got you. You got yourself a fun game.
Did they do anything that's like unique that isn't
the
just...
fighting is it's a bit simpler. So it's there's no cooking. Like the way you upgrade things is all really direct. Like you find specific item, like there's one thing you use to upgrade health, there's one thing you use to upgrade like shields, so it's like all very direct, almost like Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think any of y'all played that, but like, so it's fun. It's cheap right now. It's like $30, and if anybody like enjoyed Breath of the Wild, like this is a must play, and it's really crazy. It's like been far overshadowed by another Ubisoft open world action adventure game, Valhalla, the Assassin's Creed game, which doesn't really seem to do anything new, or like I think people like and enjoy, and it's beautiful, but it's just a massive open world with kind of like tedious tasks. So I don't know where this game came from. I like feel like I just started it, and I'm like 25 hours in, and I'm like not even halfway done.
Damn.
So
Dang.
yeah,
People need to check that out then. Maybe they'll sponsor our show too.
I don't want
by
to
the comfy Phoenix.
No,
Riding.
no,
our favorite form of soft.
Yeah, no. We're a comfy brand here.
Oh god.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing all that, guys. So, Savon and Mike, you guys had this conversation about a month ago. We heard secondhand that Savon has some really cool / maybe terrible.
I did not say cool. Yeah, let's be clear here.
What?
All right, so let me
opinions on the Marvel superheroes top 5. Mike, give us some context for how this came about.
All right, so there's a few things I have to say, and I need everybody, as I'm saying this, to mentally prepare themselves for this, because it's going to be a rough ride. So this must have been months ago at this point. I don't even remember how it came up, but essentially, like, I asked Savon, like, if you had to make like a starting 5, and like I'd just been getting into basketball, like, so I asked him, like, if you can make a starting 5 from Marvel, like, who would it be? And one of the headlines, I'm not going to spoil this, but one of the headlines, I'm going to lightly spoil it, is that Savon just completely blew off Spider-Man. So that's going to be the first thing that I need everybody going into this to be biased about, is that Savon just doesn't really have respect towards Spider-Man. So now's where our newest listener comes in, and I'll shout out Kendall, Savon's friend Kendall. Great dude, play some games with him. He listened to the last episode, liked it. So Kendall let me in on a specific.
What's up, Kendall?
What Kendall said?
Savon, who, as we know, is just completely disrespectful towards Spider-Man, hasn't seen
No, don't do that.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my goodness! What?
Yes.
Yo,
like incredulous would be a mild way of describing.
You can't even
it.
borrow somebody's Netflix password. What's going on?
He has Netflix. He literally has. He's been set up for success in every single meaningful way. And Savon has just not only not made an effort to watch like probably one of the best superhero movies ever, but is going to continue to spew this libelous slander against Peter Parker or Miles Morales. Like we'll put both those Spider-Men in together, and he's just he's just not done the due diligence to really have a legit opinion here.
All right.
So with that
personal
intro,
attack,
with that personal attack, Savon, your top 5, not top 5, I guess we're gonna call it your starting 5, because this isn't just like who you think is the 5 best. It's considering. Well, why don't you actually explain to us kind of what your logic is?
Yeah,
here.
what's your criteria?
All right. Yeah, this is my criteria, because I had to think about this. I was like, do I go like a 5-year-old and just name the strongest people? Do I go off my personal favorites? Like, we can do better. So I decided to do it similar to how the NBA does it. A first team, but I decided to do like loose positions. So whoever's on that team has to loosely fill a role that I based off the 5-man band archetypes that you might see in writing, books, movies, whatever. So the archetypes are: you need a leader, someone to take point, be in charge, rally everybody. You need muscle, so somebody who could, hit hard, eat licks, dish them out. You need brains, so somebody who's smart, got it going on in the noggin. You need finesse, so someone who's like acrobatic, quick, can do maybe stealthy things. That's requires finesse. You need heart because you can't have a bunch of serious tryhards who take themselves seriously and not have someone to ground them and remind them, hey, we're heroes. And then I put in a flex slot as like a sixth person. So just you might just want another role you want to fill. You just toss in what you want.
I've seen this movie. It features George Clooney and Brad Pitt and the Chinese actor.
That's actually 11. Chinese actor. How did the two white actors get a name and then it's just Chinese acrobat?
Because that's all he was in the movie.
Jesus Christ.
Is that the I think the
Ocean's
movie?
11. Yeah,
I seen
Ocean's
that. Kendall made me watch it.
That's how you know how much Asian people don't like Chinese people.
Jesus Christ.
We're not going to be sponsored by the CCP. I'll tell you.
All right. So with those criteria in mind,
This show has now become a meta battle royale and racist podcast, apparently. So Wesley's going to edit out the past 30 seconds because if we can't swear, I don't think directed attacks and nationalities is appropriate as well.
Seems like there's a window here. We can
we'll find the
audience.
Growing pains.
All right.
So
start us off.
So for the leader
There
slot,
goes Comfy.
For the leader slot, I put Captain America. Also, I'm basing this off of people who are in movies because people haven't read all the comics. The comics have really inconsistent writing.
And the Netflix shows. So I'm assuming there's a Netflix character in here.
Yeah, movies and Netflix shows.
So this is MCU top 5.
Yeah,
Fair
and
enough.
like the TV shows.
No, but if the character is in a movie, you're considering what they've done in comics, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And for all intents and purposes, I'll open up the X-Men too, since they've had movies, even though that was Fox, but whatever. Marvel movies. Anyways, for the leader spot, I put Captain America. Not the most heavy hitter leader, but I think if you watch the Avengers movies, I think his leadership consistently holds them together. Like, Tony might be the big baller, but his leadership leaves a lot to be questioned. If you watch sports, leadership is important. If you have a job, leadership is important.
So was Iron Man were you going back and forth? Was he would you?
No, only because if I use Iron Man, I don't like him as a leader. I like him as like a brains tech slot person.
Okay.
But also, spoiler alert, he's not on this list.
Ooh. Wow.
Damn,
Right.
snub. First snub.
So I put Captain America, pure just like leadership. Everyone respects him. It's all Gucci.
Besides, Nazis. But
yeah, well, I think we'll somehow be okay.
Yeah. All right,
that'd be in the pro column.
Muscle, I put Luke Cage. Luke Cage because one, this was a little bit of a bias pick. He was a personal favorite growing up, but he's a tank. He can eat licks for days, which you're gonna need. I like him because he's more grounded, street smart human, so he's not as disconnected as a man will be born and a man.
He's not
go with
actually
Hulk
that
in this
powerful
spot.
though, is he?
Half the movies that Hulk is in, he's fighting his teammates.
He's like I don't even know who a good player for that would be.
Wild card.
DeMarcus Cousins?
He's like the DeMarcus Cousins of the MCU, or the Latrell Sprewell.
The Choka coach.
Exactly.
All right. Was there anybody you were going? Was there who would be second on Muscle, or was Luke Cage the obvious answer?
Who's your non-nepotism pick?
The smart Hulk, but I feel like that's a lazy pick. Also, I thought Thor maybe, but
is Thor not on the list at all?
Thor's not on this list.
Oh my god! All right. So
But again, I'm thinking versatility.
Savon
of
is
skills.
the Giannis of picking all-star teams here, guys. What is
I'm
this?
going in terms of like versatility. So Luke Cage, you get someone who understands human level problems, relatable. I think that helps.
Is he that
he
strong?
can be bought.
I didn't finish the show. Is he like?
Yeah, he's like bulletproof, fireproof.
All right. So we have Iron Man leading it. The Bronze.
He can hook
Luke
up with
Cage.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
Is
Cap
that what
is the
happens?
leader.
It is what happens.
So, and he brings like some groundedness. For the brains, I put Vision, and just because Vision is literally a supercomputer essentially, and also he just brings a lot of secondary stuff. He's tough. He could tank. He could fly. He could he could shoot lasers. Like he's like a Swiss Army knife of just dope stuff you need, even though he can't lead by any means. Because
who wants to listen to a computer?
Yeah,
He's definitely like obviously like quote unquote like the smartest, right? Because he's got access to all of the information. but we never got to see him, at least in the movies, make any kind of like strategic moves. Does he do that in the comics? Like how are we putting him in charge of brains here?
Based
like,
on movie feeds,
anything.
He's the one who deduced how to destroy his Infinity Stone, and that Wanda would be the one who'd be able to do it.
Right.
Which, granted, all of that falls apart. And also Age of Ultron, like a whole bunch of the plot is him being smart enough to figure out how to purge Ultron from the internet. Yeah. He did some stuff, but he's smart, not wise, which is why, that's something to note. For finesse, I put Black Panther, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. This is not a nepotism pick. This is like a semi-flex pick. I think that people sleep on the need of people who aren't just powerhouses on a superhero team. What if you got to break into a building, hack something, steal something? Think somebody like Black Panther can, one, do that, and also you get Iron Man qualities in terms of just like, he's rich out the wazoo, has a bomb-ass suit. Also,
he has his own army.
He can bank, and he can also bankroll the team. And it's like, hey, he's the leader of a country that's doing really well too. Like, it's not a sinking ship by any means. So, like, when you're the leader of like, so when you're the leader of like a superpower, that helps. So, like, but specifically, I like, his versatility, agility to break into stuff. The other three can't do that.
And in the comics, he's part of like the Big Four. I forget what they're called.
The Illuminati.
The Illuminati,
like the big heavy hitters, like Professor X, like the big dogs.
They're the ones who basically like control the world.
Yeah. Oh. So Black Panther. So you get a lot of resources. Like Twitter. Facts though. For the heart was challenging because a lot of the heart characters, I feel like they aren't the biggest heavy hitters. But I ended up going with Ant-Man.
Oh boy!
I forgot how upsetting this was to me. That I was worked up when we were initially having this conversation, but when he got to Ant-Man, I literally wouldn't even let him talk.
Paul Rudd made the team.
It's not even. It's unbelievable. Iron Man, it's not.
He's
here.
A good dad.
Spider-Man's not here. It's the goddamn Paul Rudd.
So I put in Ant-Man because he's not going to bring the movie version, and not like the old guy either, or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Hank.
No, I know Hank Pym, actor. No, Hank Pym.
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Thank you. Douglas. Yeah, Michael Douglas. Like, he's probably a better version because he could do the Ant-Man stuff and he's smart, but he is notoriously, like in the movies, kind of a dick. Yeah, so that automatically disqualifies him from being the heart of the team. So I went with Scott Lang because he's proven to just be a down-to-earth, stand-up guy, hold it
Hank
together.
Hank lost his wife. I think we'll give him some slack, guys.
He found her. But dang, yeah, but he can be
but then
both.
he was nicer after that, right?
Yeah, but no. But he's still kind of just a butt by nature. Like, he decks people in the jaw multiple times. But, yeah, like, keep in mind, his, like, just general passion, go-getter attitude, when you have all these depressed Avengers was important. He helped, break up the facility. He's the one who helped them discover time travel and even put that out on the table. So that was all just from him being spunky and having heart. And I think you can't sleep on it. Everybody else more or less had given up and was just moving on. Your boy comes out the gates hot. I think
Phil Coulson.
Yeah, people sleep on heart and movers, man. You need that. Like, a team without heart and no chemistry falls apart when you got just talent.
Put that on.
So the starting five is Captain America,
Luke Cage, Vision, Black Panther, Ant-Man. You got strength, you got leadership, you got stealth, you got raw power if you need it, you got resources, you got life experience on different levels from either royalty, old guy, or street guy.
Okay, so who is the flex slot then?
My flex slot was Black Widow.
6-man. Okay.
Black Widow? Well, she just shoots people.
Black Widow's literally
She's smart.
Spy.
Yeah. She's smart. She's cagey. She's like a Black Panther.
If someone said, we have to infiltrate blah, 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 Captain America, Luke Cage, Vision, Black Panther, Ant-Man are not doing that.
You mean not the guy that can turn himself into an ant?
I'm talking about, but you saw the limitations in the movies. I'm talking like an actual spy, like actual spy stuff. Like,
all right.
In the movie,
Intel gathering.
Intel. Like, and she does that. She helps run all the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff post-Endgame. She's the one who figured out Loki's plan in the first Avengers movie. Like, the
she could be a leader. She could step in, if Cap goes down.
She has literally stepped up in big leadership roles. She's not a powerhouse, and she can also still throw them good hands if she needs to. But she's someone who helps get the plot moving forward without having to break down doors. Like, Hulk isn't going to move the plot forward. He's going to break something. Black Widow figures out the plot.
So I'll say this. Savon's list makes sense as a team.
I went for team cohesiveness.
But
like
this
if you
is
had a
like
mission.
but this is like 2004 Pistons, right? It's like the definition of a really good team that kind of gets lucky once in a while and they might win, but like in general, it's a superstar dominated league and comics seem like they're kind of superstar dominated, so I don't know.
What opponent is this team constructed to defeat?
Man, first of all, y'all watched
Just
Iron
Hydra,
Man
that's
and
it.
Doctor Strange, two heavy hitters be together and actively not get things done because there was no chemistry. Y'all watched it on screen. Y'all watched the Hulk fight his teammates in 2.5 of all the Marvel movies. If you count Incredible Hulk, really 3.5. Like, I just named three of y'all heavy hitters are liabilities off the bounce. Everyone knows Iron Man's a butthead, and he actively antagonizes people and creates half the problems that they stop. Like, come on, B. What's up?
I think like a lot of your picks are based on personality, but not necessarily ability. And so I'm wondering, like, what happens when they
Have
come
to fight
across-
Thor.
Yeah, or they need like range-based combat or something.
Yeah, this is also all melee. Besides Black Widow with like a Glock 19.
Yeah.
No, can anyone fly besides Vision? Did you pick another flyer?
Ant-Man can
concede-
fly on an ant.
He can use his
I will
really big heart.
concede that this team lacks in long range combat. I'll concede that.
Oh well, that's not useful,
So is
it's
this
good.
like a Miami
That makes
Heat
sense.
of last year?
No, but I just think this team could like hold their own against most other teams. Or if you just had to get something done, stop the bomb, blow up the thing. Like you could do a lot of range and stuff. Not every superhero mission is just punch the big strong guy. Sometimes it takes like some brains or some smarts or some.
It's also doing really
non-traditional
well
skills.
against the salary cap here, I'm guessing. Like you're not like having to pay anybody
sorry,
too
I'm
much.
not
waiting
here.
for
sorry,
free agency.
Well, sorry, it's not an 8-year-old's birthday where I have a cake with Wolverine, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. It's like, all right, cool. So, yeah, I guess it's
So-
Michael Jordan and Will Chamberlain the same.
Wolverine seems to me like the biggest. Wolverine and Thor seem like the biggest omissions here, and Spider-Man.
It's- Yeah, I
Or
think
like
Yeah, you see, y'all stop
Professor
worrying about
X.
Spider-Man.
Professor X.
I thought
yeah.
about Professor X. He was a very
brains.
close one for leader because even though
He's
he moves
leader
all
and
physical,
brains.
he has a lot of he has world level support skills. Like I
Yeah,
thought
like, what
about it.
happens
yeah,
when
but
they
then he
fight
also gets
Magneto?
like Alzheimer's and then ends up killing everybody around him all the time.
Yeah, but that's like way
That's
that's the end of
okay.
his life, bro. Like he got so much other stuff to draw from.
We're drafting people in their prime. Okay.
Yeah, like assume prime peak performance. Is it a perfect team? No, but I think it is an underrated and slept on team. I think most people would struggle to make a team and fit in those parameters I had of leader, muscle, brains, all that without. It gets tricky because those people I left off because they didn't fit into one of my archetypes. So, you know, first of all, even y'all stop worrying about Spider-Man. Like, come on.
Can we get some mutants in here? I mean, like
I thought about it. I know
Cyclops?
mutants almost made the list. I almost put Wolverine. Well, Wolverine was like could have gone into muscle instead of Luke Cage, but I feel like most of the time Wolverine's just getting beat up and healing for the sake of him healing than actually contributing.
Yeah,
Like,
I wouldn't put
He's just
Wolverine in
taking
there.
would-be lethal blows and it's like, oh, cool, he heals. Like, all right, bet. Can you like contribute?
I mean, kind of.
I thought about putting Storm in. I really did.
Yeah,
'cause-
exactly. Storm's got to be in here. Come
But
on.
she didn't fit into the hard
Wanda,
slot.
Captain Marvel.
I felt like Captain Marvel was an easy choice because she's just so like she's damn near omnipotent at a certain point, and it's like I could do that, but I want to build my dream team, and this was my dream team. Like I could
You
have.
sound like the NBA owner that's spurning Kevin Durant for no
No, it's not
reason.
that. It's not that. But you know, you want to make it interesting too. Again, am I going to just be the 5-year-old who just picks all the immediate best people? Like, come on, you got to make it.
Yes.
This is like a Marvel team for someone that hates LeBron. It's
Also,
like you
again,
don't
also
need
Captain
that.
Marvel. Also, Captain Marvel, not really a leader.
No, she's kind of a notorious.
Yeah, powerhouse can get, and so that's what I keep thinking. Like you can have these powerhouses, but if they don't get along or have guidance, then they're not very helpful.
Well, to any of our 4 listeners, please feel free to let us know specifically why this list is wrong, and I will
Hold on.
gladly
Quick thing,
read it
Spider-Man,
on
quick thing,
air.
Spider-Man is a street level hero, which is cool. That's respect. But Spider-Man
is Luke Cage.
Spider-Man is. Hold on, let me hear this. Spider-Man isn't the guy that you put on like a championship squad to lead. Spider-Man is meant to be with like a small market, friendly neighborhood team.
Small market.
He's meant to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and his job ain't to be the big heavy hitter. His job is to help out the younger lower tier people who aren't getting,
This man isn't Malcolm.
He actually plays on the Knicks.
Yeah, he actually plays on the Knicks, but he's like the guy on the Knicks who's like, "Yo, we're gonna turn this around, and I'm gonna stay, and I'm in it for." He's like the Udonis Haslam, or like Udonis Haslam or something. Like he's a mentor as well. Like he's helping out the little guy. Respect to Spider-Man, but when you start getting the big dogs, dude, his last movie he was fighting drones the whole time. Come on, B. Your villain was drones and an actor. That's a good point. Come on, B.
Coming into this conversation, I felt like, I'm going to probably sit this one, out a little bit.
Isn't it that offensive? Like,
I'm not into the comics, but like, and I don't come in with a lot of knowledge, but this list is horrible.
It's so bad, dude. It is so bad. Like, I'm not swearing because we don't do that on this show anymore. But like, when he first like put this in my ears, it was such an affront to like just everything good and decent in the world. It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable.
I did like half an hour research on this last night. My list would be Thor, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America, Professor X. And like I feel like my team would crush your team against any villain anywhere and any plan anywhere that wasn't just like the Celestials and the big like abstract gods that sometimes make appearances.
Do that team under those parameters though. Once you start, when it's not just pick a list, it's you have roles to fill. I'm saying when you're trying to fill out actual roles,
you're way over the salary cap, Wes. To be fair,
way over the salary cap, but it fits. I got a leader, Captain America. Okay, I got muscle. I got Wolverine. I got brains. I got Professor X. Finesse. I got Spider-Man. Heart. Who's left? Oh, Thor doesn't really fit there, but he's got a little.
Thor's got heart. That's his whole character arc.
But the first couple movies he didn't. Yeah, but he builds.
Thor traditionally as a character is very much not hard.
All right, so then we'll go Wolverine for heart because he takes care of Rogue in a lot of those movies, and then Thor's our muscle. Then
is Wolverine the heart of the X-Men? Are we really about to say that? Isn't he? He's literally the Rue.
He is the heart of the X-Men.
He's literally the Rue Gruff. I don't have time for this.
Yeah, and then he comes around.
I'm not a part of a team.
And then he saves everyone.
Come on, look, it gets hard.
I think I think Savon has a point there. Look, I think given the constraints here, this is still a terrible list, but I respect you for trying to work within that range. And it's also like you got to have a salary cap, like you can't just pick like the five.
I wasn't aware of the salary cap. That's my fault.
No, he's right. He's fair. I still think given a salary cap and this, like, I don't think Luke Cage makes the list.
I openly admit, I think Luke Cage is in the same area of effectiveness as like Wolverine. They both can just eat ridiculous amounts of licks and throw strong melee. I think they're in a rough similar tier. And I admit that Luke Cage is a personal bias. Like I openly admitted that. Every GM gets to have their project pick.
Yeah, it's your James Harden.
Ugh, what?
Wasn't Daryl Morey like obsessed with James Harden?
Yeah. But you were saying I like James Harden.
No. All right. Well,
honestly, you just need core X-Men.
I agree. You know what?
Professor X, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Storm.
What does Cyclops do? He just shoots people. Again, it's just shooting people. There's more.
He's the leadership.
But the leadership, man.
But I'm with Mike though. Yeah, he doesn't make this team.
All right, I want y'all to make a team with y'all on my constraints, and I'm curious. We'll revisit this later.
All right.
All right.
That's a good. So a notable omission here is a great segue into our next topic.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about WandaVision. Disney released the first 3 episodes this past week or so. We all got a chance to check them out. Hopefully, you guys listening at home have also listened or watched because there's gonna be some spoilers, I'd imagine, coming out here because it's all pretty much just questions and mysteries. Friends, we'll start with Brian. What are you liking so far?
I like how effing bold this show is. Like, to tell us that, okay, you're finally going to get your MCU Disney Plus TV show, and the first one is basically a riff, spoof, parody, homage to all these generations of old sitcoms in your first 3 episodes. And, like, sitcoms that, the MCU audience probably is not even familiar with. like the Dick Van Dyke Show and I Dream of Jeannie, like that is effing bold on Marvel's part, and salute you and whatever producer had the gall to even pitch that and then let alone make it happen.
Do it.
That's pretty crazy.
It's not just that. I feel like it's wholly that. Like, it's not like they're just using that as kind of like a gimmick. Like, they're not really moving the plot forward aggressively in those episodes. It's really just those sitcoms.
Yes, and like just doing every sort of trope and bit of dialogue and stylistic thing to imitate those sitcoms as perfectly as they possibly could. That's crazy. And Mike is right. Like, the main plot seems to be moving at a snail's pace. And so they really want you to just like revel and luxuriate in those individual sitcoms. Because the main plot's not going to really inch forward too much.
Mike, what are you thinking? What are you loving? Same thing, something different?
No, I mean, like, I think it's not just like that structure, but you really get to see how good of actors Paul Bettany and I think Elizabeth Olsen is. Like, it's not like corny. Like, they are really doing justice to those kind of tropes. And like, I think you get to see that, you know, the whole gimmick, the one gimmick of the show is that each episode is obviously a different kind of generation. And they've just done such a solid job with that. And I think, like, because it's such good performances, like, that it feels way more like an homage rather than just kind of like a gimmick. So I think, like, it's actually been quality. And damn, I can't remember her name right now, but the other lady that comes in, she's in like Step Brothers and a bunch of stuff. Like, she's really funny, and I think like this is one of her better performances.
It's friend.
Yeah, the neighbor. Yeah, and like it's just like
Agnes.
it's like a solid show that's like done really like interestingly, and it's like when you think about like how the MCU originally was and like how corny and that and all that, like this just seems like it's ambitious, and they've like actually kind of achieved what they were looking to do. So it's just everything about it is really unique and interesting, and I think that's what I like about it.
Savon, you liking anything?
Yeah, I wasn't really losing my mind over like the first 2-3 episodes with like the homage thing. Like, I respected the production value of it. I respected the attention to detail. I respected just how like clearly just a ridiculous amount of work just went into this. I'm not going to pretend that it was the most engaging thing to watch, because ultimately, like, I don't care about 50s and 60s TV. Like, even if it's a parody of it, I didn't enjoy it to begin with. So like, I respect it for, you know, what it is, but it doesn't necessarily like make me want to watch more. But what I am loving is, like, to Brian's point, the commitment. Like, regardless, they're committing to it, and I respect that it's not a gimmick. I like that. And also, I'm loving how they're just like dropping little hints to just make you unsettled and uncomfortable, and that's what's really drawing me in, because I'm just sitting there like, all right, it's this old show, but what's the catch? What are we do? Where are we going with this? And then as I start to take in all the tiny details that they painstakingly like put together, it really does, like, it makes me excited it makes me appreciate the snail's pace, because I feel like it's really going to be a fun ride if they're already putting in all these little cracks and things to kind of make you just, like, my own personal theories are running wild right now. And
Well, so that takes me to my next question, which is, for you, what is the like most interesting like intrigue or like mystery piece, or like piece of the puzzle that you've seen so far?
Well, we get out of the bit essentially at the end of the third episode, and you see that she's in some kind, like, clearly this is something she's created, or like is she's more in control of this than I think you immediately saw. And the lady from Captain Marvel, I'm also forgetting her name, gets kicked out of like this weird
Rambo.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that who that was?
Yeah,
that's not her,
I
huh?
did not pick up on that.
yeah, no,
She's the daughter. That's the daughter.
that's the daughter. Okay, that would make sense.
Oh, I didn't piece that together.
Wait, why would she wouldn't be that old? I guess it would. That takes place in like
Yeah.
the 90s, right?
Yeah, the 90s. Yeah, it takes place in
Yeah,
the 90s.
so she would be that old. She gets kicked out of the town or whatever it is, and you see like a bunch of soldiers. So it seems like they're being kept there against their will, maybe, or something like that. So, and the cool thing is, and I don't, Brian, you might be the one to appreciate this. Like, the show was shot in the the older aspect ratio, I guess. I don't know what you would describe it. So it's got the black
4:3.
4:3, and then
4:3.
as they moved into the real world, those black bars got like phased out, and then it moved into
peeped
the
that.
widescreen. Yeah, so I thought that was cool from like a film perspective. Obviously, that's really on the nose. It's not like like some deep kind of film trick or whatever, but. So I think that's what's intriguing is now we're going to see the real world. And it's like, what is actually going on, and like how is this actually going to connect to the rest of the Marvel universe?
So can we take a moment and even list out all the different what would you call them, like
Cracks?
mystery things, the cracks that come into the sitcoms itself? So there was Geraldine, I think that was her name, who gets expelled from the Brady Bunch.
Well, there's that
episode.
icon with the sword that's showing up everywhere and is in that like weird computer lab you saw, I think, at the end of the second episode or something.
Yeah, it's on the helicopter, the beekeeper.
There's the guy that comes out of the
that comes out of the manhole.
Oh, was he a beekeeper?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a beekeeper too.
And then Wanda seems to be able to start
Rewind
scenes
time.
over.
Yeah.
Like
When it's something she doesn't like.
Yeah.
Specifically, is when she doesn't like something. Like
like when the guy mentioned her twin brother, and I think that was the first time that I think he's even been mentioned since Ultron, when she said she was a twin, and I think like that was also so cool because she delivered that so well, and like
with the accent coming back.
Yeah, and the character's trauma has been like such a thing, and I think like saying I'm a twin was like that's a really like great way of kind of delivering that.
R.I.P. Quicksilver.
R.I.P. Quicksilver. But when Vision starts to come to a conclusion that something is wrong and he brings it up to Wanda, she literally rewinds that situation.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of like, it took me a second. I was like, did my Netflix did my Disney Plus just mess up? I had to rewind. I was like, oh,
so
no,
have y'all been like fully paying attention to these episodes?
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah, it's
Once
like
I
my
realized I
brain
missed
goes
some stuff,
into
I
like
rewatched.
my brain goes into like sitcom mode where it's like you don't really need to pay attention, and then you miss these kind of like really little things. So I watch like every episode with my friend Curry, and it was like we actually feel like we need to go back and rewatch them just because it's like you miss a lot of the nuance in it.
There's also the commercials, right?
Yeah,
That are
Hydra.
getting progressively.
Yeah.
Have
Well,
y'all
they're
seen
all
the Hydra?
connected to things that have happened to her. So the first one was like Stark Industries, which obviously like
Oh, yeah,
she
the
had that big
missiles.
beef with, and then there was Strucker, who I guess was the guy that turned them into the actual.
And it was literally a
I think it
Hydra
was
watch.
Hydra.
No,
Yeah.
the watch was literally a Hydra. The watch had a Hydra logo on it, and the watch was called the Strucker. So
And then the last one was Hydra soap, right?
yeah,
What does that connect to, though?
What?
I don't know.
The last commercial was Hydra
Oh,
soap,
yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
Like Strucker was the one that did the experiments on them. in
Yeah, I
the
think
movies?
so.
hmm He's
He's
the guy
the
at the
guy.
beginning of second
Yeah.
Avengers movie who they raid the base and put the work
Yeah.
on him.
So the soap thing, like if the other two commercials connected, I wonder like what.
Brain-
Well, it's not that they
Brainwash.
connect; it's that they're just examples of things that have kind of caused the trauma in her and probably like triggered into whatever the state is. So my question for y'all that read the comic books, and I'm skipping ahead here, Wes. Is this connected to the House of M storyline at all? Is this anything that's kind of been hinted at in comic books, something like this, or is this like completely new?
I think so. In that, well, one, and I didn't catch this until you mentioned that. I didn't know that the girl who was the agent who got kicked out was actually supposed to be the daughter who was in Captain Marvel. But that makes more sense because the logo for that sword, that's a reference. Like, I don't know a lot about them in the comics because I started reading less about them, but they're S.H.I.E.L.D., right? They have a partner organization essentially called SWORD, and they do things, I guess, they operate similar to how S.H.I.E.L.D. does.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
So they're literally, like, that's why it's like shield and sword, which is, it goes hand in hand, right? But I didn't think they were doing anything House of M-ish until I started realizing, oh, maybe Wanda is actually, like, the problem here. And when it was clear that a girl got expelled from the place and the people are unsettled, I think they're going into that whole, like, she creates her own reality type thing, which is absolutely something that happens in House of M. Like, the whole point is that she, eliminates mutants from existence. Now, they're not doing it on the same scale, but clearly in the comics, it's a response to, like, trauma, a traumatic event she has with, like, mutants being so destructive. So, like, I think they're going the route of, as a response to trauma, she somehow created this reality that's whatever she wants it to be. And exactly how that happened or to what extent she's in control or is the bad guy, I don't know. But it seems like they're taking like elements of it, but I wouldn't say it's like a hard copy.
Well, that's kind of what they did with
Yeah.
Civil War and all that.
Yeah, it's like they
Infinity
took the
War and
premise
kind
of like trauma, use her powers, create her own world. That's about the extent of the similarities to House of M.
Yeah, the weird thing is that even though she's creating her own world, she's being monitored doing it at the same
Right.
time, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody's outside of the TV screen watching, and then when Geraldine gets expelled from the world, and all the military or
They look to be
or
helping
security
her.
or whoever was that.
Yeah, but they didn't look like they were like there to. They look like they were there to help Geraldine when they came out. Like they were like
Oh, did they?
rescue.
I
mean, that's
I
what
thought
I
they-
took. That's what I took.
I thought
Oh,
they had guns.
I thought
pointed.
they were arresting
They
her.
had guns.
Yeah.
It didn't look like they were pointing them at her. It looked like they were going to help her, but maybe I'm wrong.
But it also looked like in the corner of that.
Wait, what was that,
shot-
Mike? What did you say?
I said I could be wrong, but
I just wanted to hear that. Sorry.
yeah, that's not confidently wrong. That is. I'm maybe willing to take an L here.
But in that shot when the authorities come and get Geraldine, it looked like on the side was sort of like some sort of compound or force field
Like
area
yeah.
that they were patrolling, and that might be where Wanda's surreality.
Well,
is
there was the
taking place.
town. There was still the sign of the town going
That's
into
right.
that force field.
Westview.
It said like Westview. So it's like, has she created like my thought like was like she created this and they're somehow using that to like monitor her and like put up lights and everything to kind of see. But I don't
But
know.
what about the other neighbors who are talking to Vision and warning Vision about Geraldine, who they just described as being without a home? or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So my impression of that is, like, how I interpreted that was that she's an outsider. Clearly, she's working with some kind of organization. Now I realize, maybe it's Sword, because I wasn't sure if she was Hydra, good, bad, whatever, right? But whatever it is, she's an outsider. The people there clearly are privy to what's going on, and we're realizing more and more. A lot of them actually are a bit uneasy with Wanda. When you think about maybe some other interactions, like with the woman who's in charge of like the pie making organization thing with you realize people are actually unsettled around her. So the impression I get maybe is that for whatever reason, she's taken over this town with her powers, and the people who already live there are essentially hostages. Because they clearly implied that they can't leave. They're talking to Vision about this, but not Wanda. Wanda expelled her and is lying about it. Like, as the thing starts, all the funky stuff that's going on is involving Wanda, not anyone else, right? Like seeing colors. So you start to realize, like, and the people are unsettled. That was the big thing for me. I thought that people were in on something, a conspiracy, but it actually is the opposite of like, they're just living in fear because clearly something's going down, and the outsiders proof that like, okay, she's not one of the people who's trapped here.
Well, that's why I thought when Geraldine got expelled, that's why they were going to save her. To pick
Me
her
too,
up.
but I thought, but to me, it looked like they were like pointing guns at her. But maybe it's because she looked different. Maybe the
Wesley
outfit
put
changed.
in our Zoom chat. I don't know why you're putting things in the Zoom chat, Wes. But Wesley put in the Zoom chat that they're definitely pointing guns at her.
But maybe
I went back and found that scene just now.
yeah, but maybe her outfit
really?
changed because of the whole changing inside there thing. So maybe she looked unfamiliar, right? Like I don't think she went in there with the disco 70s clothes. Like maybe they were unsure. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack, and I'm very excited for what they do. down the line.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting because at first they make you think that Wanda's the one imprisoned, right? And everybody else is sort of like doing an
Yeah.
experiment on her or
Yeah.
something. And and then there's the Hydra thing. So it kind of made me think that Hydra was the one responsible for this. But then this third episode kind of flipped it, and it, to Vani's point, like it made it seem like, okay, Wanda's the one holding people hostages. So the show is sort of like showing you shades of different things, but forcing you to reconsider any of those preconceptions.
So, as our resident skeptic, you seem to be enjoying the show, Brian, from what I'm hearing.
I am, but I'm with you that like episode to episode, though, it can get a little boring.
Well, that's why I
what
spent
are
a
we
lot of
actually
time on
watching
my
for?
like I've been like on my phone and stuff because it just seems
Like
like
I'm
this is just a
intrigued,
sitcom.
but not
Yeah.
necessarily entertained, which isn't
Yeah,
a bad thing because maybe the collective whole of it ends up being really entertaining. And sometimes you gotta Like, the first season of Breaking Bad wasn't very entertaining, but it was intriguing, and that worked.
So
for
it's
me.
the opposite of Mandalorian, where y'all were entertained, but it was just like, oh, whatever. I'm not intrigued at all.
I mean,
yes.
I just
actually yes.
it's like a long fireworks fuse of just like, all right, I know this is gonna be a big bang, but I just gotta be along for the ride.
So
I'm
it's
being
like what,
patient.
like 10? Also, like I think the last thing we need to talk about is these episodes are so short.
Yeah.
It's only like it's like
The
barely
credits. The credits are longer.
The
than
credits are
actual
6
yes.
minutes. Then they do the previously on thing, which is like a minute. So you're really only getting like 20. It's like 22 minutes. I wonder if that's intentional, like because of like that's how long things are in like sitcoms.
I'm sure it is.
But
Yeah, for sure.
Do you need 27 minutes of a I Love Lucy parody?
Hell no.
no.
But even it's weird for Marvel though to get like 22 minutes of basically just at home dialogue once a week for like
Yeah, well, that's
I don't
also
know
the
how many
thing.
10 episodes.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's
maybe
not
quality over quantity. Like maybe that's the route they're going. They
But
did
it
with
is
Mandalorian.
weird to have like appointment viewing for such a short thing, because at least with the Mandalorian, it was like felt like you were pushing at an hour, even though I guess some of those
Yeah.
episodes were in the 30s. But it is just kind of weird to be like, oh, let's watch it's Friday, let me watch the show, and it's only like 30 seconds long.
Maybe they're cognizant of their huge catalog.
Well,
Like,
this
I'm
I
okay
think
with-
also the thing is, and this can be the last thing we can get out of this, but it's like this is going to connect into the movie. So I think it's
that's
I
right.
think like maybe once we have the full picture and we can kind of understand like what the show is, I think looking back might be like, okay, this wasn't supposed to be its own thing with like beginning, middle, end, and resolution, but it's more so like an extended teaser into kind of the new movie.
Which movie are you thinking it leads into?
No, they've confirmed it. So I think it's called the Doctor Strange sequel is like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and
baby.
that is gonna have Wanda in it a lot.
So perhaps she creates the multiverse of madness.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Wanda is like, her powers are way more OP in the comics, but in the comics, she's also like at a certain point she is a sorceress for whatever.
She's
that's
pretty OP in the movies, man. I mean, like she
but
almost killed Thanos like by herself.
Yeah, in the comics, though, they get into like silly wish fulfillment levels of like powerful, like, oh, okay, so you could just literally, you're essentially a god. All right, chill out.
Yeah.
So did she not make the top 5 because she's untrustworthy?
Yeah,
With that level
it's
of
same
power.
Hulk reason, right? Like you don't want someone on your
What
team who can
what slot would I put? What slot would I? Where would I slot her in?
You could put her anywhere but brain. She could
Like,
sneak
not
in.
brain. She's
Maybe
not
not
really
finesse.
a brute. She's not a brute. She's
She
not
is a
finesse. She's
brute.
not a leader. I think when I go brute, I'm thinking like physical strength. I almost put in the elemental category, but
I don't know if
ended
a
up
lot of
deciding
thought. I
against
don't know
it.
if there was a lot of thinking going on, but
Fall back. Again, I could have just made a list with Doctor Strange and Jesus and every other. That's
and
the easy
LeBron
choice.
James.
Yeah, and
Coming out
like
to Creed
and
music.
Obama's like, all right, cool, I could do that,
And
but
Obama.
The Rock,
Leadership.
but I decided to be creative with it.
and Saitama.
But she could be on the list. Like I like Scarlet Witch. I think her instability makes her kind of a challenging teammate. But with the right squad, sure.
All right, well, I think
She started Civil War.
Can I say one
She
thing,
did.
and then Mike, you can take us out here. I think I agree mostly with what Savon and Brian and even Mike, what you've said in terms of like there are a lot of questions that are I agree with Mike the least, I
Fair
think
enough.
probably, but
Fair enough.
there's a lot of interesting questions I think that they're asking and they're teasing us with, and like hopefully they like actually start answering them at some point. Good God, like this beekeeper character, like who is he or she? Where did they come from? That kind of thing. Like why did they show up in the middle of the street in this creepy way? Right. And like, how is she able to rewind time? And I think what we haven't talked about is like, how is Vision even there at all? Right. This is taking place after Endgame where Vision is not alive.
Is it?
And so
Do we know
yeah.
that for a fact?
I read something that said that the actor who plays Monica Rambeau, Geraldine, is said it was after Endgame.
Oh, okay.
And so how does that square with what's going on here? And even if you didn't know that, right, like it's still like, what is Vision's role in this, right? Like, is he part of it or is he a figment of her imagination? Like what is she just strapped to a bed somewhere, and like is all of this going on in her head? And so like I kind of want to know all of those pieces. I think what you guys are talking about, it's not necessarily entertaining, is like they've done these like homages to these sitcoms, but in some ways like they sort of lack the charm and the like actual funny of those sitcoms. And either because we're in a different time and so our sense of like what is funny is different, or because you're always aware that like there's something sinister going on, like you can't concentrate fully on like it just being a lighthearted show. I think that's why I'm feeling sometimes during the shows like, oh, like I'm not finding this like compelling all the time, because the show doesn't actually provide me with laughs, right? Like they're doing all these comedy things, but like it's not actually funny. And I don't know what you guys thought about that. Like, is that
Like,
part of
sort
why?
of funny. They're like, oh, that's funny, cute.
Yeah.
Same
That's
brand of
exactly
humor.
how I feel about the Brady Bunch. Like,
Yeah, it's just
oh,
like-
that's funny.
Like, I'm not gonna watch any of those shows that they're homaging and laugh any more than I did at WandaVision. I'll just be like, oh, that was a joke.
But
Yeah.
like, I Love Lucy like has actual funny like stuff happen. Like
Does
even in
it?
today's
That's
When was the last time you
that's a
watched
bold
I Love
statement.
Lucy?
You didn't see
Yeah.
everybody. Y'all can't see the people at home. Y'all can't see everyone's face. Me, Brian, and Mike all just like, you sure about that?
yeah,
The
but I
same
think that's
emoji
also,
face.
but I do kind of agree, right? Like that comedy and that sense of humor is specific to that age,
Yeah,
right? Like
it's
our
outdated.
comedy senses are different now. And so like when you try and fully commit to this other style of comedy that isn't actually that funny anymore, how does that like square with doing 22 minutes of it straight, or
Well,
21 minutes?
Yeah, that said, I can't wait for episode 5 when they do a Seinfeld homage.
Oh, that is
And that's
probably
gonna
what
be
they're gonna
fantastic.
do, huh? Like Seinfeld.
No
and
way.
Is
No way.
Friends?
Probably not. I don't know.
Are they gonna
Friends?
go?
Maybe it'll be Friends.
Well, no, those Seinfeld's is 90s and Friends is 2000s, right? Are they gonna
Is
do
there,
like?
is
Are they
there
gonna
really a
do,
difference?
Are they gonna do like how I'm? First of all, yes. Second of all, yeah, are they gonna do like How I Met Your Mother and then like Big
You can see
Bang
the wheels
Theory?
spinning for
'Cause
Mike.
then
Like,
I'm
when
just-
are they going to get to Curb?
Yeah.
that would actually be really good.
Or if they did The Office. They did an Office parody. That'd be funny. Them looking
Oh
at the
my
camera.
goodness.
Yeah, I
self-aware.
feel like they'll definitely do that. You have because like Parks
Or-
and Rec and The Office are like,
Or maybe they just break away from the whole comedy.
They
homage
might-
thing and or they just be like, all right, look, man, it's popping off right now.
Yeah, at some
I
point
don't
it's got to
think-
turn into action.
yeah. Well, I don't think they're gonna like fully be in the real world next episode. Like just because we saw it, right? Like
No, I didn't see the
they're-
preview.
No, I mean I'm just saying like like so the
Oh, yeah,
episode
yeah.
ends in them in what we'll call the real world, like not in the Wanda world. Like they're not gonna just fully commit to that. Like there still will be bits, I think, right? Because we're only at what like the 70s now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's
they
like
still
what's
gotta get
next?
to
Like
90s and 90s.
Cheers? Like is that that's an 80s show, right? Or
Oh
is that
God, the
90s?
Cosby
Charles
Show.
in Charge.
I have
Oh,
no idea.
Cosby Show.
Good times.
All right. Well, we'll be interested to see what comes out of this show. There's supposed to be 6 episodes. Is that right?
No, I'm wrong. This one is 10. The rest of them
There's 10.
were-
Okay. So we got a
were
ways
6.
to go
Yeah.
to kind of see. Well, should we just check in maybe at the end of the first season and see
Yeah, we'll see.
kind of what we
Next
thought of
week
it?
we're gonna
All right.
do Harley Quinn, which you'll talk
Yeah, man.
about
I'm
in a
excited
second.
Oh
about
my
that.
God.
I love it. It's like the most Jewy superhero shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so funny.
Harley Quinn.
Top 5 Jewish superheroes.
Harley
Well-
Quinn is number one, clearly.
Boy, DC has always smashed it with the animated stuff, but Harley Quinn is hilarious. Like
It's really good.
Harley Quinn
Well,
legit
it's-
makes me laugh out loud.
It's I say Jewy like jokingly, but it does really like feel like Big Mouth. I don't know if y'all have watched that show, which is
I
like
have not.
very much like John
I have.
Mulaney, and Nick Kroll, who are both not Jewish but very Jewy in their comedy. And then this one just has like every Seinfeld and like Curb and like everyone in that like actual real world of comedy in it. I think this show is really excellent. I don't know how I had never heard of it. It's clearly not marketed like aggressively, but it's so good.
It's not at all. They're missing out, man.
Yeah.
We ran a very scientific IG poll in our stories the other day. 36% of you out there said we had seen it. About 64% of you said no, you haven't seen it. So we're giving you time. Hit up HBO Max or borrow somebody's login.
Or the internet.
Watch Harley Quinn, not the live action show. There's an animated show. It's got 2 seasons. We're gonna talk about at least the first season next time. We've been sort of starting to watch it, and I've been just laughing and like
Right.
thinking about like the ways in which they're flipping all these characters is like really interesting to me, and like their commentary on on society in general is pretty cool. So look forward to that on the next one, guys. That's what we call in the biz a little teaser.
And the podcast
You're
biz.
such a tease, Wes.
Well, this podcast is brought to you by Comfy. Make sure you visit their website. I don't know what it is, probably comfy.com or something like that. Yeah, hit us up on our socials. Twitter and Instagram at confidently_pod. Leave us some reviews in the podcast, marketplace, so we can get some more traction here, friends. And remember, next time watching Harley Quinn, we'll talk about Harley Quinn. So make sure you watch it so you're all caught up and there will be no spoilers for you.
We out.
Let's go.
Let's get it.